Dr. Jazz.
Thanks for finding the time, first of all. Appreciate it.
Jazz.
My pleasure, of course.
You know, I remember I bought Provinciano years ago, and I was like, man. And Roberto Donny, you know, I played a lot with Roberto. He told me about you as well when we played together, and so I checked out a lot of your music. So
Wow, Roberto's great, man. I haven't spoken to him in years. Please say hi if you see him.
I
Yeah,
will.
great, man. Great cat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's a nice guy.
yeah.
But I want to start with Relentless. Our talk. It's a big band record, and I listened to it, man. Whew, arrangements and the compositions. I mean, big band is a big endeavor. Like, how come you decided to go that path? I mean, it's a kind of continuation of possibility of change already, but like, still, what's the story behind the big band?
Well, as you said, I did after Provinciano, it was I did a suite in France, suite in blue and white, and then I did hashtag, and they're all quintets or sex. I think they're all quintet. Yeah.
That, yeah.
So I was getting into that after hashtag. I was starting to write some new tunes, and then I was getting into the process of, well, now I'm gonna get some gigs and try to make. And then I said, well, maybe I should like try to, kind of like, expand this, be challenge myself a little bit, and I always play with I love horns, I play with a lot of large bands,
You
and I
played with
really
Guillermo, I
played
mean, for a long time, right? So, yeah.
exactly Guillermo, and also Mehmet. He had Mehmet Salikol has the big band, has a lot of great stuff, and Pablo Blanedo, a little bit
Pablo, yeah.
with Felipe Sales. So I always enjoy that. And big bands in Boston as well. So I said, why not? And I took some classes, and then the possibility of change came, and then eventually the newest, I mean, from last year, Relentless came about. So that was what kind of took me to that place, to the willingness of trying to challenge myself to keep growing, because
Yeah.
it's easy to get into kind of a comfort zone, and then it's well, what happens if I do this, and and it's a big challenge. It's a lot of work.
I know,
It's
man.
a Greg Hopkins, right, the trumpet player.
Yeah.
So I told Greg, man, I'm doing a big band, and he said, great. Big bands are great for two things: to lose money and to make enemies. So I say, I'm on, great. So it's not there's some of that, but it's very rewarding when you can hear your music played by so many people
Oh, yeah.
and make it. But it's for sure it's a big challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's also cool that a bass player is leading a big band. I think it's quite a different aspect than, I think always of Jaco. He had a big
Right.
band, so that's like where the bass is really prominent. Like, who were your like role models, or in a sense, like what were you listening to when you were arranging or writing for the music?
Well, I
If,
started listening to everything, from Gil Evans to Ellington, of course, to a lot of Lincoln Center,
oh yeah, sure.
that they play a lot of that music now, which is sometimes good for the recordings at Maria Schneider, to all the German big bands.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And and I took some lessons with Manuel Kaufmann. He's a Swiss arranger who teaches here at Berkeley. He's a friend of mine. But mostly scores and analyzing and trying things and checking out harmonies and voicings and instrumentation, orchestrations. But yeah, I think that was kind of what it took. It took a long time, and I still take a long time to write a chart.
Sure.
I
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
have
yeah, yeah.
that the discipline or the I don't know the facility to write something in 3 hours. I'm I
That's
take
that,
a long.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, so I take a long time and I would try to get the best out of everything, you know. So yeah.
How do you usually get ideas? I mean, I listened to Provinciano again today, and there's like a lot of 1 in 10 and some other music, and the title tune. I love those tunes. Like, what's your process on writing? Like, melody seems to be quite upfront. Always, there's beautiful melodies when you compose, I think, and the rhythmical aspect as well. Like, how do you start usually a tune? I mean, do you have like a notebook or start with a sketch or?
Yes, I always have some music paper, and sometimes a student doesn't show up, and I have 30 minutes, and I write some chords, and I write some, and then sometimes I open my notes, and don't remember anything.
Yeah.
But oh, okay, I can work with this, or this is silly, and and go with some stuff, and so that's kind of the process, and yeah, Provinciano, yeah, I had this vamp, and I wrote like 2 pages of different rhythmic
Yeah.
rhythms
Yeah.
that go, on that, and I chose three, and one repeated. And then melodies, I wrote like another page of different melodies, and I
Mm,
have chosen a few, and then that's how it works. And both Provinciano and 1 in 10 are both based on a musical style from Argentina called chacarera, which is in 6/8. So they're both Provinciano. They both have this is
yeah.
two
Yeah.
and
That's yeah.
together kind of thing. Yeah, I said the one is in 5, 1 in 10, or 10/8.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting. You mentioned Argentina. You grew up. You are from Argentina, right?
that's
Like,
right. Yeah.
how did you? I mean, my knowledge of Argentinian jazz is not so big. Like, I know a lot of European and North American, but like, how did you get familiar with jazz? What was the scene there? I mean, you're not from Buenos Aires, also, right? You're from
That's
a
right. Yeah,
smaller town.
I'm
Yeah.
from Córdoba, so it's yeah. There's quite a big jazz scene in Argentina.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, and for a long time, I mean, I can, for example, well, Dizzy Gillespie went to Buenos Aires and brought Lalo Schifrin, who was playing piano and played piano in his band for a while.
Oh,
Then
yeah,
Lalo
exactly.
became a famous, writer for
Arranger. Yeah.
movies. And Gato Barbieri also is from Argentina, so he was big in, and many other guys that some Gustavo Bergali, he was in Sweden, great trumpet player, and many other players that are in different places. But yes, in Buenos Aires and in Rosario, Córdoba, Mendoza, San Francisco, there's always a good jazz scene.
Really?
There are
Wow.
festivals and stuff. Yeah,
Didn't know that.
so yeah. My father was a jazz fan. He is. He had all these Pablo records, a lot of Oscar Peterson and DC jams from the new no Newport Montreux,
Yeah, yeah.
live things. So I grew up listening to a lot of those records, Sarah Vaughan, So and he liked a lot of Brazilian music, a lot of tango, a lot of folk music from Argentina. So I grew up listening to all that. And I'm coming from a musical family as well. So all that was in my ears.
Mm, mm. What about jazz? I mean, like, and why bass? Like, did you hear like a specific player or moment that you said like, shit, I want to play bass actually, or
Bass, well, I was playing, I was studying, I was playing guitar already, and my brother
okay.
was a drummer, so I kind of played drums too. But then we had the trio, and the bass player would leave his bass in my house where we rehearse, and I would fool around with the bass. And then I started to get hooked. I love the bass, and for a while I was playing both. And then I said, and I'm going to focus on the bass. And eventually, I sold my guitar to come to Berkeley, and so yeah, with the bass. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
How was Berkeley like for you? I mean, coming from Argentina to there, like, who were your teachers? And I guess the amount of players there must have been amazing, right?
Yeah,
Your
yeah,
generation. I mean.
exactly. Yeah, I remember the first day I got into the 150 building, which is one of the main buildings there. I opened the door and went to heard this heard Cherokee being played at, at 350. And I get in and I see this band. I couldn't believe how they play. And I remember I stood there for a while until they finished, and then I went back to practice, and ended up they were like the best jazz players in the nation. It was Roy Hargrove, Chris Chick, um, uh, Paul Aduka, a Japanese drummer that I don't remember, the guy who played with Bramford, he lives in UK, in England, can't remember his name. Anyway, it was this amazing band. So, but I didn't know. I thought it was a regular band. I said, man, I gotta. But it was very inspiring, very, very, very challenging, and yeah, I loved it. Yeah, I was consider myself very lucky for have been a student at Berkeley.
Did you go like who were your main influences or people that you studied? I mean, kind of or transcribed, or did you have
Uh,
like a hero? Put it in brackets, like or
Well, as teachers, I studied bass with all the teachers almost. I studied with Oscar Stagnaro, the great bass player from Paquito de Rivera. But I studied with Brown, who is Ray Brown's dear friend, and he played just like Ray, so it was great. Also with Bruce Gertz,
oh yeah,
yeah, Bruce, great. He's still teaching.
yeah, I know, yeah,
So uh, um, and some other bass teachers that I can't remember. Well,
sure,
I studied, then I studied for, and with Garzon ensembles. I did two ensembles with Hal Crook. I took all his
oh yeah,
classes, great
sure,
trombone player. So a lot of very inspiring classes and teachers,
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
important. Yeah. Oh, what
Yeah.
about musicians? I mean, I know I checked the first records I have you on, and it's Guillermo Klein's like Los Guachos, obviously, and Pablo Abolanedos. I have you like on three records by Pablo. Like, how did you get to know these people and getting immersed in the scene? I mean, or especially Guillermo and Pablo.
All at Berkeley.
Are they
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so we all went to Berkeley. So I met Guillermo then, but I joined his band when he moved to New York.
Okay.
Yeah. So and then Pablo, he's still in Boston. We have a couple of gigs coming up.
Oh, beautiful, man. Fantastic.
Yeah. So Pablo came a little after, but yeah, the thing is, Berkeley was at the time one of the few schools that offer scholarships. So a lot of people from abroad
Yeah.
came, and we had a chance to meet and develop and stay. So yeah, so that's how we met with Pablo and Guillermo. Yeah.
Did you go from Boston then to New York, or
No, I always
you
stay in
always
Boston.
stayed in Boston? Oh, well,
Yeah,
okay.
I spend a lot of time in New York sometimes at friends' houses and things for gigs and recordings, but never leave there. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. What of you as a band leader? I mean, uh, uh, there's that record with Luciana and Jacques that you did, I guess, late 90s, right?
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Yeah.
like,
That was my first record.
yeah, how did that one begin and becoming a band leader? What was that like for you?
I always wrote music, so I always had like leading concerts at Berkeley when I was a student, and I was playing in Luciana's band,
Oh,
and
really? I didn't know this. Okay.
yeah, she had a band. It was a pretty cool band, and yeah, I even went on tour with her to Brazil,
Oh,
and we did a tour with Joey Calderas on piano
oh,
and Carlos Bala, a great drummer from Brazil. He plays with, in Javant, with
mm,
everybody. And this percussionist who was playing with Sting, I can't remember his name, but it was incredible. So so I played with Luciana and Jax. We went to school together. So yeah, we did this recording. I remember I did it in 1 year, and then I couldn't. I ran out of money, and then my son or daughter were born, and I had to wait until the owner of the studio offered me to do some work for him, and then I could record. So that's how I got to finish it. Yeah. But that
the,
was my first record. Yeah, I always wrote music. Yeah,
mm. Yeah, the classic case of a band leader, right?
yeah.
Basically, you lose money all the time.
Well, yeah, of course.
Almost. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
What about touring? You mentioned Luciana. When was the first time you went to Europe, and how was that like? You remember?
First time I think I went was with Victor Mendoza. It was he's
Oh,
a
really? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah. We did a tour with a quartet, and I think we went to Portugal, and
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
and then I went well with Guillermo a bunch of times. With Marta Gomez, I toured with her quite a bit. She's a singer, more like
Oh,
folk, Latin American folk. Yeah, with Matthias Bublet, is a German pianist. I toured quite a bit, and yeah, and I've been teaching a lot at Umbria in Italy with Berkeley. Well, um, yeah, somebody I can't remember. Oh, with Mika Pohjola, with
oh, yeah,
Roberto,
yeah, yeah. Oh, that was a killing band, yeah, with Monder, right, on guitar, and Cheek was it, or
Ben, and
Zenon, Miguel,
Miguel.
Miguel, yeah, yeah,
That's right. Yeah. So we did the quartet. Yeah, Roberto, I think, and then Miguel and Ben and Mika on piano,
yeah, yeah.
Pohjola. Yeah, yeah. So it's a few different instances. Yeah.
Yeah, Roberto told me about those tours when you were somewhere in the snow up north and stuff like that. So,
Man, it was so cold. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
bizarre.
man.
Touring is a funny business, man. It's like
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
it's bizarre, but anyway, yeah. But how do you decide for a project? Also, I wanted to ask you that. Like Provinciano is slightly different than the one with Luciana and Jacques, and the people, especially like in the bands. What's your process there? It's just you know that you're gonna have Andrew Radbon, or how do you decide for the lineups usually?
Well, that first record, I didn't really have a band, so I wasn't really, I would rehearse and record.
Yeah.
I've done a few gigs, but didn't have a steady band. So since then, I had a band, and it happened to me many times that I would be playing bass for somebody, for a leader, and then comes the tour.
Mm,
Then they say, "Oh man, sorry, but they want somebody famous on the tour, so I had, or
yeah,
like,
the usual. Yeah.
yeah, the usual." So I said, well. That's not a nice feeling when you so I said I'm not going to do that. So I record with my band, or when I get, or don't do it, don't do the tour or whatever. So I usually been playing with this quintet lately. So yeah, on at the time, Provinciano, that was my band with Mika and Franco Pina,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then Andrew, and then Julia Musailan joined. And then the next thing we did was in France. There was a collaboration with Menino Garay on drums and Javier Giroto.
Yeah.
Menino lives in Paris.
He's
Javier
from
worked.
Argentina, right? I mean,
They're
otherwise, yeah.
both all
Yeah.
from Córdoba, so we're
Oh,
friends from.
really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then Julia and Pierre de Vedman, great French Parisian pianist. And then we did hashtag, which was going to be with my band with Franco and Julia and Rick DiMuzio, great tenor player, lives in Boston from Pittsburgh. And then Santiago Bosch was a pianist, was going to do it, but he couldn't do it. So I called, so Leo Genovese played
Yeah, yeah.
hashtag, and then now it's a big band, and it's the band plays, So whoever does the gig records, and that's how it goes.
But you actually have gigs now with the big band, or
Well,
I
we
mean,
did. We presented the record at Scholars, which is one of the
yeah.
two best clubs here in Boston. It was really well. We played at a theater in Watertown
Oh, wow,
and
okay.
Montague. So we got a couple of gigs. So now we are kind of like planning for mostly the fall. So probably go and get maybe one of these clubs and maybe another
Yeah,
place in New Hampshire to try some new music that I've been writing.
yeah, yeah. It's heavy getting a big gigs with a big band. I mean, that's
It
like
is. Yeah.
that's brutal, man. I mean, I guess unless you get like local big bands, I guess, to give them the charts and they play it, or that's an option.
Well, the bands at MIT, they
Yeah,
play some
yeah,
music at some schools in Baltimore also, so, and in Argentina. So that's kind of cool. But I'm not I'm just listening, so it's a bit different. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I wanted to ask you also. I mean, you mentioned new music. Like, have you been writing also something for new, smaller lineups also, or? Wha-
Well, I always write music for my quintet first,
Okay,
and I always play first. That's the process because I mean most of the time. But to me, one thing that I realized is that, or that you know, in my belief is that Ellington's music, for example, is great because the tunes are great. You know, I mean, Duke's orchestrations
yeah,
and voicings were, you know, impeccable. You know, amazing. But most of us don't care so much about that. Oh, look at how the alto doubles
true,
with the alto
actually
flute,
true.
and
Yeah,
you know, the people feel the song. So I think you need that would make him above everybody was that the tunes were great. So I think that when I write for, I feel like I have to write for a small band and make it work, and from there
you can expand. Yeah,
expand it, you know, orchestrate it. Otherwise, when I write for big band straight, I get to tend to get lost in the
yeah, it's too much. Yeah,
in the orchestration and stuff, and in the intros, and it gets a little silly sometimes. You know, well, you have a focused tune, and then you can expand it. I think music is better. That's how it works for me, at least.
no, no, the tune has to work, obviously. Yeah, yeah, it's first about the tune. Yeah, like, what are your plans for the upcoming months and weeks? I'll put it like that. I mean, do you have some new plans for recording also, or you mentioned some gigs in the fall and
Yeah, yeah. So we're waiting for gigs at probably at the end of May. We're going to play with the quintet, and then
hmm,
for big band, a couple of gigs on the. I need some time to to arrange, and so probably a couple of gigs in the fall, and maybe record at some point next year another one. But we have to see how it goes. You know, if the music is ready or not, and if we get grants and
sure,
funding, because that's another challenge. You know, it's a big investment, so we have to see how that goes. And yeah, I'm teaching at Berkeley. I'm
right?
teaching at a couple of other schools. It's an interesting time here, you know, in the States, you know, the political thing. I
Yeah,
teach
yeah.
at Tufts University, you know, where they took this young lady away. So yeah, so finishing this up, I do have some gigs, a lot of local gigs, and I'm going to be teaching at Berkeley, in Puerto Rico, in Morocco, and in
Oh
Umbria.
wow,
So
wow. Okay,
that's a summer of teaching and playing concerts in Europe and North Africa, and some local gigs and some festivals here in the US when I come back. So that's pretty much the plan for
it's a
the
lot.
next year, yeah, for
Well,
this year.
when did you start teaching, by the way? You mentioned teaching like
Oh, very young, when I was in 1996, so almost
already. Wow.
29 years. Yeah.
And already at Berkeley in '96 or
Yes.
oh
Yeah.
wow. That's a long
Yeah.
one.
That's a long one. Yeah.
That's a long one. Wow. How do what's your process when teaching also? I mean,
I try to see where the student is coming from, what he wants to do, and I try to support what he wants to do as much as I can. But I try to see if there are any holes, any
yeah, yeah.
things that he needs to, you know. So I try to encourage what he has to do, but I also show, look, we need to work on this as well to make you a strong, even musician, you know. But the bottom line is to try to inspire the student,
Yeah.
which is hard. And not every teacher is good for every student.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
another thing that I think is that if the student doesn't want to learn something, he's not going to learn it. It's no matter how much,
That's
you
true,
know.
yeah, actually. Yeah.
I mean, I used to get like crazy, but it's like, well, there's so much you can do at some point. Is that okay? This is it. It's up to you, you know.
Yeah.
So, but I think inspiration, something that I try I try to inspire my students somehow, you know.
Yeah, it's hard for the I mean, I've been teaching as well for 25 years and it's hard for the younger generations because it's a funny generation, you know. We used to listen to records still, right? Put on CDs or now it's just like I don't know. It's funny when I mean they're incredible, the youngsters, but they're really the focus of listening to a record and they miss out on the romance of opening a CD and reading the liner notes, you know, and stuff like that. It's that's heavy for them in a sense also. Although
I
it's
feel
also easy to get music. That's the other thing, but still, it's
Yeah, I feel sorry
yeah,
because sometimes they lose the perspective of the music,
yeah.
the context. I remember hearing one student in one exam at Berkeley, and he was playing a Steely Dan song, and it was great, and
Ooh.
he played great. And I said, "Wow, great job!" So, who's that? Is that Anthony Jackson or Chuck Rainey or Marcus Miller or Will Lee? And he's like, "I don't know." And I said, "Oh, okay, so let me help you. Tell me which record. Oh,
Yeah.
maybe. Oh, I don't know. It's just in my thing."
Oh well.
So he
Yeah.
doesn't know who he transcribed it. He doesn't know who he transcribed,
Well,
which record, what year. So he's missing the context of the evolution of the music in a way.
yeah.
And it's that's a tough one. It's hard. Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
problem because this device, the phones that Spotify or whatever doesn't tell you the lineups and doesn't tell you the year, and so it's. I remember I had a workshop like 2 years ago, and an incredible drummer, and I asked him like he knew all the odd meters and everything, right? And I was like, shit, man. So who do you listen to? Who are your drummers? Like, yeah, Marcus Gilmore. I was like, oh, super, man. Jeff Ballard, okay. And then I was like, shit, okay. What about Paul Motion or Danny Richmond? Have you checked out these guys or? No, who are they? I was like, man, come on. And this was a guy who finished already university, jazz university in Switzerland. I was like, damn, man, come on. You play great, but go back, check these guys, just
exactly.
for your general knowledge of respect.
Absolutely.
So it's funny, yeah. It's
Yeah,
maybe not even their fault in a sense because of the technology, but I,
yeah.
th- I think jazz you have to like it in a sense that you search for the names as well, and I don't know, or it's just me babbling.
No, I agree with you, man. I
Yeah,
feel it. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
But cool. Uh, Fernando, if you're gonna be in Europe, drop me a line and we'll get together for a beer. So
Oh, that would be awesome, man.
yeah,
So you're in Slovenia?
I'm in Slovenia. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, great, man. Yeah, of course.
So,
Well, I'll be in Umbria. I don't know. That's as close as I think gonna be.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of
10 hours by car for me, but
Yeah, that's a long
that's a
commute.
long one. That's a long one. But if you're gonna play in Austria
Absolutely.
one day, just let me know in Vienna or something. I live two
Absolutely.
hours out from Vienna, so it's easy to get there.
Yeah, Sam, if you're coming here, of
I
course.
will
Yeah,
definitely.
that'll be
Cool,
awesome.
man. Cool, man. Uh,
And
I'll leave you a nice, what is today? Sunday afternoon at you guys. So thanks for finding the time. Appreciate it.
thank you so much, man. Great. I love your music. I'm your fan, man. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for this.
Thank you,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Jazz.